Imagine pouring a stream of hot tea into a cup that is already filled to the brim. No matter how pure or precious the tea may be, it has nowhere to go. It simply spills over the edge, wasted and meaningless. Most of us are living exactly like that overflowing cup. We constantly complain of exhaustion, of feeling suffocated, of longing for some quiet place where we can finally be at peace. And yet, with each passing day, almost without realizing it, we continue gathering more of the world's burdens and piling them onto our own shoulders. We crowd our minds with endless pursuits of success and recognition, with the pressure to live up to other people's unforgiving expectations, and with toxic relationships that slowly drain us of emotional strength. We convince ourselves that the more we accumulate, the more complete our lives will become. Yet the paradox is this: the more desperately you try to fill your life, the emptier and more exhausted you begin to feel. The root of suffering is not always that you have too little. Sometimes it is that you are carrying far too much. Zen teacher Shunryu Suzuki once offered a simple yet profound reminder. The human mind is like a cup. It becomes truly useful only when it is empty. You cannot pour stillness into a heart already overflowing with storms. The master key to happiness has never been the endless effort to acquire more, achieve more, and become more. True happiness is found in subtraction, in the courageous act of letting go. In today's video, we are going to explore 8 things you need to quietly remove from your life. Do not wait until suffering has pushed you to your breaking point before you finally understand. Begin clearing the clutter from your mind today, and make room for the freedom that has been waiting underneath it all. 1. The need for approval. The first thing you need to quietly remove from your life is the craving for other people's approval. Be completely honest with yourself. How many times has your mood risen and fallen? How many nights have you lain awake, simply because of one critical remark from someone who barely matters in your life, without realizing it? We often place the key to our happiness in other people's hands, turning ourselves into exhausted puppets whose emotions are pulled back and forth by the attitudes of the crowd. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a teaching known as the 8 worldly winds, 8 forces of life that are always ready to sweep through the mind: gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disrepute, pleasure and pain. As long as you remain attached to approval, your mind becomes like a fragile leaf, endlessly blown about by these 8 winds, never able to rest in true freedom. Buddhism goes even deeper through the teaching of non-self, the understanding that the fixed and permanent ego we call I is not what we imagine it to be. So why should we exhaust ourselves decorating an illusion with the ever-changing praise and criticism of the world? There is a well-known Buddhist story. One day, while the Buddha was walking on his arms round, a man who opposed his teachings, consumed by jealousy, blocked his path and began hurling insults at him. Strangely, the Buddha simply remained calm, with a gentle smile, like a lake untouched by even the slightest ripple. When the man had finally exhausted himself with anger, the Buddha quietly asked, "If you bring someone a gift, but that person refuses to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied irritably, "Obviously, it still belongs to me." The Buddha smiled and said, "Exactly. Today you have brought me your anger and insults, but I choose not to accept them. So, my friend, To whom do they belong now? The man stood speechless, overcome with shame. My dear friend, there is a wake-up call hidden in this simple story. How long have you been forcing yourself to endure, draining your own strength simply to live in a way that pleases everyone else? Other people's judgments, harsh expectations, and disapproval are often nothing more than poisoned gifts. They have the right to offer them, but whether you open your heart and accept them is entirely your choice. Please stop punishing yourself. Do not turn a heart that already longs to be loved into a target for the poisoned arrows of the world. Your true worth has never been decided by the approving nods of the crowd. It grows from a steady inner ground, a place that remains unmoved by the 8 worldly winds. The very moment you quietly let go of your hunger for approval is the moment you begin removing one of the heaviest chains you have ever carried. At last, you are free to breathe again, free to return to yourself, and free to hold your own peace without asking the world for permission. 2. Resentment and hatred. The second thing you need to courageously and quietly cast out of your life is the resentment and hatred you have carried from the past. How many times have you allowed your mind to be slowly eaten away by painful memories? Someone betrayed you, trampled on your trust, or spoke words so cruel that they seemed to make your heart bleed. You pinned that pain deep inside yourself and carried it day after day like a rusted chain around your body. In Buddhism, this is a form of attachment, the refusal to let go. We often fool ourselves into believing that refusing to forgive, replaying our anger, and engraving hatred more deeply into our hearts is somehow a way of punishing the person who hurt us. But there is a powerful teaching that should shake us awake. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison yourself while hoping that your enemy will die. The more resentment you carry, the person being wounded is no longer them. It is you. You are the one slowly destroying your own peace. To understand this attachment more deeply, let us become still for a moment and listen to a classic Zen parable about 2 monks traveling together. One day, the 2 monks came to a river where the current was running dangerously fast. At the riverbank, they saw a young woman struggling to find a way across. Without hesitation, the elder monk stepped forward, lifted the woman onto his back, and carried her safely to the other side. Once they reached the opposite bank, he gently set her down, and the 2 monks continued on their journey. But as they walked, the younger monk grew increasingly disturbed, his mind filled with judgment, irritation, and indignation. Finally, after they had traveled nearly 3 miles, he could no longer contain himself. He turned sharply to the elder monk and said, "We are monks. We are not supposed to have such physical contact with women. How could you break our discipline by carrying that young woman on your back?" The elder monk listened quietly, then smiled. "My brother," he replied, "I put that woman down at the river 3 miles ago. Why are you still carrying her?" That simple question is also a bell of awakening for anyone still bending beneath the weight of old wounds. My dear friend, the people who hurt you may have turned their backs and walked away a long time ago. They may have continued with their lives, carefree, perhaps no longer even thinking about the wound they left behind. So why are you still carrying them on your back? Why continue carrying those dark memories through one day after another, 1 month after another? The past has already ended, yet through resentment, you may still be imprisoning yourself inside it. Remember This forgiveness does not mean that what they did was acceptable. It does not mean that you agree with their wrongdoing. And it certainly does not mean that you are weak or that you must surrender your dignity. Forgiveness is a profound gift you offer to your own wounded heart. It is the moment you decide to stop drinking from the cup of anger. It is the moment you take your own hands and finally untie the knots that have bound your spirit. Have the courage to set your resentment down on the riverbank of the past. Only when your shoulders are no longer bowed beneath the weight of hatred will there finally be enough space within you to receive the light of healing. 3. The obsession with control. The third thing you need to learn to quietly let go of is the illusion of control. In the restless and uncertain rhythm of modern life, we are constantly driven by the need to stay in command of everything. We want to design a perfect future in advance. We want to control our careers. We even want to control how the people around us think, behave, and respond to us. And the moment something unexpected falls outside the path we carefully planned, we panic, we struggle, and we suffer. But Buddhism reveals a deeper truth through the principle of dependent origination. Everything in this world comes into being, remains for a time, and eventually passes away because countless causes and conditions come together and then separate. For a flower to bloom, it needs sunlight, wind, rain, fertile soil, and the right season. You cannot force a bud to open before its natural time. In the same way, you cannot force life to unfold exactly according to the blueprint you have created in your mind. Trying to bend reality to match your personal will is one of the deepest sources of disappointment and despair. The truth is that the control we believe will protect us often becomes the very thing that imprisons us. It is an invisible cage we build with our own hands around the mind. To understand this more deeply, imagine yourself standing beside the ocean, holding a handful of dry sand. If you keep your palm open, relaxed, and facing upward, the grains of sand remain there peacefully. They rest in your hand, whole and undisturbed. But then a vague fear arises. What if the wind blows them away? So you begin to close your hand. You tighten your grip and squeeze harder and harder, desperately trying to keep every grain. And then the paradox reveals itself. The tighter you hold on, the more sand slips through your fingers. Eventually, when you finally open your hand again, only a few scattered grains remain, along with a quiet, aching sense of loss. Love is like that handful of sand. Relationships are like that handful of sand. Even the dreams and goals we pursue throughout life are much the same. The more tightly you try to control them, the more desperately you demand that everything unfold according to your wishes, the more likely they are to break apart in your hands. The heart of this teaching is simple. Learn to move with the conditions of life instead of constantly fighting against them. But do not mistake this for passivity, resignation, or abandoning responsibility. At its deepest level, it means that you still give your very best. You still make wise choices. You still plant wholesome seeds through your actions every single day. But inwardly, you remain peaceful because you are no longer chained to the outcome. You work wholeheartedly, but you do not collapse when you fail. You love deeply, but you do not imprison the person you love. You make plans, but you do not demand that life obey them. The greatest freedom in life is not the power to command everything around you. It is not the ability to make the world bend to your will. The greatest freedom is having the courage to smile, open your hand, and allow things to come and go according to their natural course. So let your shoulders soften. Release the tension you have been carrying. The moment you stop wrestling with life and forcing it to become what you demand, you may finally discover that life was never asking you to control everything. It was asking you to trust, to respond wisely, and to keep moving forward with an open hand. 4. The habit of comparison. The fourth thing you need to uproot decisively from the garden of your mind is the toxic habit of comparison. We are living in an age where it has become far too easy to see the brightest highlights of other people's lives. We look at their achievements, their possessions, and their radiant smiles on social media. Then, quietly compare all of that with the messy, hidden corners of our own lives. We torment ourselves, begin to feel inadequate and left behind. And little by little, envy and insecurity take root, silently devouring even the smallest joys we once knew how to appreciate. From a Buddhist perspective, much of this suffering grows from dualistic thinking, the mind's habit of dividing reality into rigid opposites. When the ego, the sense of me and mine, begins to rise, it immediately wants to establish its position. It draws exhausting lines between higher and lower, winning and losing, rich and poor, success and failure. The moment you place yourself on a scale against someone else, you step into the trap of duality. Without realizing it, you begin denying the unique and sacred nature of your own existence. Comparison has never been a true source of motivation. More often, it becomes a sharpened blade that cuts the connection between you and your inner peace. To soothe the wounded ego that has grown tired from endless comparison, close your eyes for a moment and imagine stepping into a quiet Zen garden. At the center of the garden stands an ancient oak tree beside a grove of green bamboo. The oak is massive, dignified, and deeply rooted, its branches stretching outward and casting shade across a wide piece of sky. Beside it, the bamboo looks entirely different, slender, flexible, hollow at the center, and rising gracefully upward. Both possess a beauty that is complete in its own way. But imagine how tragic it would be if one day the bamboo began to weep and wither in sorrow, simply because it could never grow a thick, powerful trunk like the oak. And imagine the oak doing the same, tormenting itself because its heavy, rigid body could never bend gently with the wind as the bamboo does. How absurd that would be, and how heartbreaking. The truth is simple. The bamboo is perfect as bamboo, and the oak is magnificent as oak. When a storm arrives, the oak survives through strength and stability, while the bamboo survives through flexibility, yielding to the direction of the wind. Neither is greater than the other. They simply possess different natures, different strengths, and different roles to fulfill. Human life is no different. My dear friend, an apple does not spend its life exhausting itself in the hope of becoming as sweet as an orange. Someone else's light does not diminish your own unless you are the one who chooses to extinguish your flame. Each of us is born with a different rhythm of growth, a different path to walk, and different lessons that only we can complete. Please do not waste the precious years of your life carving yourself into a copy of someone else. Have the courage to remove the lens of comparison. Stop judging, stop measuring, and stop turning life into an endless contest. When you finally stop staring into someone else's garden, you can begin giving your full attention to the flower growing within your own. Let it bloom in its own season. Let it take its own shape. Allow yourself to live with radiance, dignity, and peace, not as an imitation of someone else, but as the one original life only you were meant to be. 5. Unnecessary words. The fifth thing you need to quietly remove from your daily life is unnecessary speech and empty promises. We live in an unbearably noisy world, a world where everyone seems to be competing for the chance to be heard. Because of that, we often fall into the trap of speaking too much while listening far too little. We casually spread meaningless gossip, make polite promises we never truly intend to keep, and sometimes, without restraint, release judgments so sharp they cut like razors. Within the Noble Eightfold Path, the path that leads toward awakening, the Buddha placed special emphasis on right speech, speech that is truthful, kind, harmonious, and beneficial. Buddhist teaching reminds us that among the many forms of karma we create, the karma of speech is one of the easiest to generate and one of the hardest to undo. A wound on the skin may heal with time, but a cruel sentence can remain lodged in another person's mind for the rest of their life. Once words have left your mouth, they are like water thrown from a bowl. No matter how deeply you regret them, you can never gather every drop and place it back again. The highest form of peace is not found in beautiful language or in arguments won through clever words. Deep stillness itself may be one of the purest languages of liberation. There is a well-known teaching story about the 3 gates of speech. One day, a disciple hurried toward his teacher and said, "Master, do you know what I just heard about your friend? I have to tell you immediately." The teacher calmly raised his hand. "Wait," he said. "Before you tell me, have the words you are about to speak passed through the 3 gates of silence?" The disciple looked confused. The teacher gently explained, "The first gate is this: is what you are about to say completely true? Did you witness it yourself? Or did you merely hear it from someone else?" The disciple hesitated. "Well, I only heard someone talking about it." The teacher nodded. "Then it has not passed through the first gate. The second gate is what you are about to say. Kind, is there goodness in it?" The disciple lowered his head awkwardly. "No. Actually, it is something quite unpleasant." The teacher sighed softly and continued, "Then there is one final gate. Is what you are about to say truly necessary? Will telling me this benefit anyone?" This time, the disciple said nothing. He simply shook his head. The teacher smiled. "If you are not certain that something is true, if it is not kind, and if it serves no useful purpose, then why speak it at all and disturb both your mind and mine? My dear friend, those 3 gates can become one of the most powerful filters for your own heart. Let unnecessary words disappear with the wind and learn to value silence. Silence is not weakness, nor is it the absence of intelligence, confidence, or something meaningful to say. Silence can be one of the strongest expressions of inner power. When the mind becomes quiet, the words that rise from it naturally become more thoughtful, more compassionate, and more healing. You may begin to discover that the quiet space between 2 sentences can sometimes hold more truth, more tenderness, and more power than 100,000 noisy words. So from today onward, give yourself just a few seconds before you speak. Pause. Listen. Ask whether your words truly need to enter the world. Each unnecessary word you choose not to say creates a little more space within you. And sometimes, by removing just one meaningless sentence, you give yourself an entire sky of peace. 6. The victim mindset and the habit of blaming others. The sixth thing you must firmly remove from your mind is the habit of seeing yourself as a victim and blaming others for your suffering. During the most difficult and hopeless periods of life, it is incredibly easy to surrender to resentment. We blame our parents for not giving us a better foundation. We blame an uncaring spouse. We blame a boss who failed to recognize our value. We blame bad luck and difficult circumstances. And sometimes we even look toward the heavens and bitterly ask why life has chosen to make us suffer this way. Shrinking into the role of a victim may offer temporary comfort. It gives you a convenient explanation and a perfect excuse to avoid trying again. But there is a terrible price to pay. It takes away your power and your sense of ownership over your own life. From a Buddhist perspective, there is no supreme being sitting somewhere above the clouds, judging your every move and deliberately sending punishment into your life. Existence unfolds according to the law of karma and cause and effect. What we experience is connected to causes and conditions, including the seeds planted through our thoughts, words, and actions. When we spend our lives blaming circumstances alone, we risk rejecting the lesson that suffering is trying to reveal. And when a lesson remains unseen, the same patterns of pain can continue to repeat themselves. To awaken those who are drowning in resentment, the Buddha once offered a profound parable known as the poisoned arrow. One day, a man was suddenly struck by an arrow covered in deadly poison. His family immediately summoned a skilled physician to remove the arrow and save his life. But instead of allowing the doctor to treat him, the wounded man struggled, pushed him away, and shouted, "No, do not remove the arrow yet. First, I need to know who shot me. Was he tall or short? Why did he want to harm me? What kind of wood was this arrow made from? What kind of poison was placed on its tip? Only when I know every answer will I allow you to treat me." But before anyone could satisfy those endless demands, the poison had already spread through his body, and the man died with his questions unanswered and his anger still burning inside him. At first, his behavior seems foolish, but if we become quiet and look honestly at ourselves, perhaps we will recognize something disturbingly familiar. Is this not what many of us do when life wounds us, when life strikes us with tragedy, betrayal, rejection, or some other deep injury? Instead of beginning the work of healing, we can spend years crying, replaying the pain, and demanding answers. Why me? Why did this have to happen to me? How could they treat me so cruelly? My dear friend, even if you discovered every answer, the wound would not stop bleeding simply because you understood who caused it. Do not spend the precious energy of your life endlessly investigating who fired the arrow into your heart. True strength begins when you have the courage to face the wound. Pull out the poisoned arrow and patiently begin the work of healing yourself. This does not mean denying what happened. It does not mean excusing the person who harmed you. It means refusing to give that pain permanent authority over the rest of your life. The moment you stop living only through blame and begin taking responsibility for what you can do next, something changes within you. You are no longer merely the victim of what happened. You become the one who chooses what happens from here. And in that moment, you step back into your own power, not as someone defeated by life, but as someone courageous enough to rise and continue forward. 7. Instant gratification. The seventh thing you need to firmly clear out of your life is your attachment to instant gratification. We are living in an age where almost anything can be reached with a single tap, a short video offering a few seconds of amusement, a luxury purchase made in an instant with the swipe of a card, or a social media post anxiously waiting for invisible hearts and fleeting approval. Again and again, we chase these quick bursts of pleasure to cover the emptiness and exhaustion we feel inside. Yet the paradox is that after the excitement fades, what remains is often an even deeper sense of weariness, hollowness, and loneliness. In the Four Noble Truths, one of the foundational teachings of Buddhism, the Buddha identified the origin of suffering as craving the endless thirst for more pleasure, more stimulation, more satisfaction. Buddhist teaching compares this craving to a desperately thirsty person trying to quench his thirst by drinking seawater. The more he drinks, the thirstier he becomes. In the same way, the more you chase pleasure, the more desire rises within you, burning hotter, demanding more, and slowly exhausting the mind. To reveal the danger of this cycle, an ancient Buddhist text offers a haunting image. A person enslaved by sensual craving is like a foolish child who sees a drop of honey resting on the edge of an extremely sharp blade. Drawn by the sweetness, the child closes his eyes and reaches out with his tongue. For one brief moment, there is sweetness. But before that sweetness can satisfy him, the blade has already cut deeply, and blood begins to flow. That drop of honey is much like the cheap pleasures and artificial bursts of stimulation we keep feeding ourselves every day. It can be the empty excitement of staying out all night, a destructive habit used to hide sadness, or a shallow relationship pursued only to satisfy a temporary emotional hunger. For a few moments of sweetness, you may trade away your health, your time, your clarity, and even the quiet purity of your own mind. What you receive in return may be wounds that take years to heal. My dear friend, perhaps it is time to courageously reconsider what happiness really means. True peace often looks very quiet. To a mind addicted to constant stimulation, it may even look boring. But lasting happiness is not found only in the pounding heartbeat of excitement. Sometimes it is found in a slow and steady breath as you sit in stillness and listen to the wind passing gently beyond your window. Learn to stay away from the honey resting on the blade. Stop exhausting yourself for pleasures that disappear almost as soon as they arrive. Learn to endure the apparent boredom of silence. When you no longer need constant stimulation to feel alive, the mind begins to cleanse itself. And from within that simplicity, something deeper begins to bloom, not another momentary thrill, but a quiet and enduring peace. 8. The illusion of immortality. The final thing, and perhaps the most painful, yet most profound thing you need to remove from your mind is the illusion that you have unlimited time. We often live, work, resent, and procrastinate as though we possess an endless supply of days. We imagine death as some distant shadow waiting far beyond the finish line of life. because of that illusion. We allow words of love to gather dust inside us. We postpone forgiveness. We squander our brightest years on petty arguments, comparison, and meaningless struggles over who is right and who is ahead. But Buddhism awakens us to one of its most fundamental truths: impermanence. Death is not simply an event patiently waiting for you at the end of the road. In a deeper sense, dying is already happening in every moment, every breath, every beat of the heart. With each passing second, old cells disappear and new life takes their place. Nothing in this world remains unchanged, and no one stays forever. To understand this truth more deeply, let us turn to one of the most moving stories in Buddhist tradition, the story of the young mother, Kisa Gotami. Her only son died suddenly. Overwhelmed by grief and driven nearly mad by the pain, she clutched the cold body of her child against her chest and ran through the streets, desperately begging anyone she met for a medicine that could bring him back to life. People pitied her and eventually directed her to the Buddha. The Buddha looked upon the grieving mother with deep compassion and told her that there was something she could do. She must bring him a handful of mustard seeds. But there was one condition: the seeds had to come from a household in which no one had ever died. Hope suddenly returned to Kisa Gotami's heart. Still carrying her child, she went from door to door. Every family was willing to give her mustard seeds. But each time, she hesitantly asked, "Has anyone in this household ever died?" And every time, the answer came with a sorrowful sigh. "Yes, we have lost many. My father died. My husband has passed away. My mother is gone." House after house, the same truth waited for her. She walked until her feet were exhausted, and, slowly, something inside her began to change. She realized that there was not a single home untouched by death. No family was exempt from loss. No human life was protected forever from separation. The tears humanity has shed over parting and death, it is said, are greater than the waters of the great oceans. At last, Kisa Gotami stopped searching. She gently laid down the body of her child, returned to the Buddha, bowed before him, and released the desperate attachment that had been tearing her apart. My dear friend, the story of Kisa Gotami carries perhaps the final and deepest lesson of all. When you truly understand that death is never as far away as you imagine, when you realize that no one knows whether tomorrow or the end of this life will come first, so many things that once seemed important suddenly lose their power over you. The grudges, the jealousy, the need to win, the need to prove yourself, the endless struggle to be approved of by everyone around you, all of them begin to look terribly small. You begin to see how little time there is for hatred. You no longer want to spend your precious life feeding resentment. Instead, you apologize when an apology is needed. You hold the people you love a little closer. You become grateful for a warm cup of tea, for sunlight resting quietly on the floor, for one more conversation, for one more breath. Do not be afraid to think about death. To courageously embrace impermanence is not to become pessimistic about life. It is the opposite. When you remember that nothing lasts forever, you finally understand how precious everything is while it is still here. And perhaps that is one of the most powerful ways to love this life completely, to know that it will not last, and to love it anyway. As this journey of looking deeply within and confronting these 8 things we need to release comes to an end, we arrive at a profound truth. Many people mistakenly believe that practicing Buddhist philosophy means rejecting life, withdrawing from the world, or cutting ourselves off from everything that binds us to it. But that is not the teaching. Buddhism has never asked us to abandon the world. At its heart, it asks us to abandon our attachment to the world. You can still work hard. You can still enjoy life. You can still love deeply and wholeheartedly. The difference is that you do all of these things with an unburdened mind, without forcing, without clinging, and without falling into despair when life inevitably changes. Our fame, our judgments, our resentments, and the things we stubbornly cling to are, in the end, much like the reflection of the moon on the surface of a lake. The moon in the water may appear radiant and beautiful, so close that you feel you could reach out and hold it. But the moment you stretch out your hand to grasp it, the image shatters and slips away between your fingers. Only when you finally let go of these illusions can you lift your head and see the real sky above you. Before we close today's video, take a quiet moment and leave a comment below. What is the first burden you are choosing to put down today? Let your answer become a promise to yourself, a quiet declaration that you are ready to begin a freer way of living. Thank you for walking this path with me. May your heart remain peaceful, and may peace accompany you in all things.